Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the late upload of the video. I've had a very, very busy day. I spent a couple of hours this morning rollerblading on the Charles River. And then, of course, I had to spend a couple of hours setting up the studio for vlog content on my second and third channels. And there's the Twitch stream. It's not going to do itself, now is it? Just kidding, BookTube. In fact, I did nothing all day long but read. Nothing. Nothing. Frida Bean got us up at 6, as she always does. We went for a freezing cold walk, and when she realized that it was freezing cold, she did her business pretty quickly, because my little Hanoverian princess does not like adverse weather at all, of any kind. So I thought originally it was just going to be rain. But no, she doesn't like rain, she doesn't like sleet, she doesn't like snow, and she doesn't like the cold. And if I remember correctly, she doesn't like the heat either. So she was ready to come right back inside and wasn't all that eager to go out again, which meant that I spent the whole day, every single hour, I kept telling myself, you really should stop reading and do some writing. You really should stop reading and do some writing. Every hour, repeating that to myself. Every hour saying, well, you read from midnight until whenever, every night anyway, so you have time to get some reading done. You really ought to do some writing. And I just didn't do it. I just didn't do it. I had a stack of books by the bed. I just kept reading. With the result that I have a huge amount of writing to do and no time to do it in. Because those of you who are new to the channel, one of my hard and fast rules is that at midnight every night I turn into a pumpkin. At midnight, I shut off everything. I shut off the outside world, all smart technology, all media of any kind, and I just read all night long. And I'm not going to break that habit just because I read all day long. It's just instead going to be an extremely reading-heavy day. Perfectly fine. I don't know what I'm going to... I don't know how... I don't have the heart to tell Frida that all of the best long-range weather forecasting models are predicting another of those incredibly messy sleet storms in the middle of the week. That's not going to go over well. But rather than ignore you completely like some sort of abusive boyfriend, I thought we'd do a mail haul, the last mail haul of the week. And because I was on the bed simply reading all day long while the bright sunlight was pouring into the room, while Frida was bustling around or sleeping, all day long, the mail deliveries were just coming. One after another, like drifts of snow. As a result, we have a huge number of books to go through. So sit back. I cannot believe that there won't be lots that's squill-worthy in this mail haul, because it's 80 million packages, and it ends in not one, not two, not three, but 4 boxes. So I have high hopes. But we'll start off with the little one. We'll start off with the far end of the equation here. I think there's one that's really, this thing is really tiny. What is this going to be? Now, Bean, this is pure plastic, so I don't think this is good for you to have. Let's just wait, and I'll give you. Oh no, it's a slim volume of poetry. Okay, it's a slim volume of poetry by Akron Press. Akron Press, the University of Akron. I didn't know there was a University of Akron. The University of Akron Press. This is Hawk Parable by Tyler Mills. And those are, looks like origami of a hawk. Kind of a nice cover design. Yeah, I think the thing that makes it is the shadows. Anyway, what have we got here? This was the winner of the 2017 Akron Poetry Prize. Isn't it 2019? This new collection begins with a family mystery involving the author's grandfather and his possible involvement in the United States Nagasaki mission, then moves through poems that engage with the legacy of nuclear testing on our global environment. Oh, wow. Okay, so very ambitious. This is not just going to be, our poet tries to go half an hour without tobacco and suddenly has an epiphanic moment. Instead, this is poetry that's telling a story. You don't get that quite as often. Okay, great. Well, this comes out in late April. So perhaps some of its poems will find their way into Poetry Tuesday. Although I know I fold the pub sheets so that I can see the pub date immediately when I open the book. I don't have to go rummaging through paperwork. I fold the pub sheet so that on my own origami, so that the date is the first thing that I see, and then I put it back in the book. And when I did, I got to this, and that is not poetry. So who knows what we'll find? I'm not going to read it for a bit. So, all right. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next one here, because this mail haul is huge. If I digress, we'll be here all day. Oh my. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. All right, this is a book I know I'm going to like. I don't need a house to fall on me. This is by Patricia Marks and Roz Chast, the great New Yorker cartoonist Roz Chast. And it's Why Don't You Write My Eulogy Now So I Can Correct It? And this is a mother's suggestions, just in time for Mother's Day. Those of you who are familiar with Roz Chast, those of you familiar with her cartoons will know that she is an expert on mothers. She does them perfectly well. So this is, I mean, it's a tiny little thing, but this will be a joy. Great. All right. So we're starting off small, but we knew that, right? So let's move on here. Move on to the next one. We'll just move up along the way. No idea what that storm is going to be. I'm following the data myself. I've grown less and less patient with network newscasters. I swear, I think that quite a few of them are told to shape their forecasts in order for click traffic. So although I watch them, I also look at the actual satellite data. There are plenty of apps that you can download to show you what they're looking at. And after a while, you can start to get a feel for these things. How big they are, certainly. How inevitable they are. If something is the size of a continent and it's moving towards you, and you can click from the data that you're looking at to on-the-ground weather reporting, not forecasting, but reporting of what's happening in Cincinnati or the American Plains, so that you can actually start to make your own chart of what a storm is actually doing. If you do that enough times, I've been doing that for years now. Ever since in 2016 and 15, network weather forecasters misplaced several storms of the century in a row, where they're predicting it and predicting it and predicting it, and then it's bright size and temperate temperatures, with no sign of the gigantic atmospheric disturbance that they were guaranteeing. So ever since then, I've kind of done it myself. Oh, I'm digressing. Oh my God, we'll never get through this if I digress. Here you go. What is this next one? This is by Dervla McTiernan, and it is called The Scholar. Okay, it's a paperback original coming out in late May from Penguin. The Scholar. This is by the author of The Ruin, which was this author's debut, and which was a thriller meets procedural so brilliantly paced that it drew comparisons to the master of the genre, Tana French. In this gripping and atmospheric follow-up, she draws readers deeper into the dark heart of Ireland. This time, set against the backdrop of a fiercely competitive world of research and academia, where the brightest minds will stop at nothing to succeed. When Dr. Emma Sweeney discovers the victim of a hit-and-run near Galway University early one morning, she calls her boyfriend, Detective Cormac Riley, summoning him to the scene of the crime that would have otherwise never been assigned to him. The victim is found carrying the ID of Caroline Darcy, heir to the Darcy Therapeutics, Ireland's most powerful pharmaceutical company. Darcy Therapeutics sponsors university research, funds political parties and philanthropy campaigns, and has even funded Emma's own groundbreaking research. And she summons her boyfriend? Was it her boyfriend? Yes, she summons her boyfriend to the scene. And she encounters the scene before the cops do. Oh, this could be good. Okay, well, so this is a thriller. I don't think I remember The Ruin. I'll have to look it up and see. I'm often terrible with these kinds of verbal written reminders. Usually, if I see a cover, I will know. I don't think I remember it, though. Do you? Did we ever see The Ruin on this channel? I mean, we're going to get to the point now where we're going to see the previous efforts of every book that we get, but I don't remember it. I think I would have remembered The Dark Heart of Contemporary Ireland. But anyway, all right, so a thriller. Now we move on. You ready for another one, Bean? She won't stand up. It's a little late in the day. She's content just to have me feed it to her. Oh, okay, all right, wonderful. All right, this is by Nicholas Nat Dag. A name that I think literally translates to Nicholas Night and Day. And this is a historical thriller that we've seen before. This is the finished copy of The Wolf and the Watchman, which debuted at number 2 on Sweden's hardcover fiction list and number 1 on its ebook list, with over 250,000 copies sold in Sweden alone. Good Lord. How many people are there in Sweden? How many people there have a copy of this book? And it's been optioned or sold to every country in the world, including, obviously, America. Okay, so that makes it poised to become one of the most exciting debuts in 2019. Set in 18th century Stockholm, this breathtakingly bold and intricately constructed novel follows 4 compelling characters whose paths collide in surprising and unforgettable ways. Getting a lot of adjectives here. All while a dying man races to unmask a ruthless murderer. With one foot planted firmly in the tradition of classical historical fiction and the other in dark literary suspense, this book is a grand entertainment. Okay. In 1793, when a night watchman finds a mutilated body in the city's foulest lake, he works alongside a brilliant lawyer turned police investigator to establish the identity of the dead man and becomes embroiled in the world of tricksters and thieves, con artists, and killers. I've had the advance copy of this, and I have not got to it. In fact, I have 2 advance copies, and oddly, they don't look alike. They're not identical. But one of them looks just like this, so I imagine this is what the finished thing is going to look like. And this comes out soon. This comes out in early March, so I really need to get to it. You'd think I would have got to it already with a day of reading. I found other things to read. All right, so a historical thriller. Are you going to get up for this, Bean, or are you just going to lay there like a bump on a pickle? Your fans want to see you. They don't want to just hear you. No, she's not going to get up. I'll show her to you at the end of the video. Oh. Oh. We have an April release, and it's a romance. Okay, very good. This is by Stephanie Lawrence, who, if I remember correctly, I really like. And it is the book 2 in the Kavanagh series, and it is The Pursuits of Lord Kit Kavanagh. Thinking I'm seeing one of those pursuits right there. What have we got here? Oh, so interesting. This is set in early Victorian England. This is not, in fact, a Regency. Author of more than 100 novels, including 29 that have become New York Times best-selling titles. Oh, so I must have her. I must have something by this author here in the room. I'm not spotting anything right now. But, anyway, what have we got here? Lord Christopher Kit Kavanagh might be one of the most eligible bachelors in London, but he has no desire to get married. With his sights set on launching Kavanagh yachts, Kit will have to work side by side with Miss Sylvia Buckleberry to discover the dastardly villain trying to sabotage his business and close her school for impoverished children. Okay, so when is this set? So Lord Kavanagh is dabbling directly in business. He has a business that he wants to pursue. I don't know if we have a date. 1843. Okay, doorstep of the modern era. All right, so that's unusual for me. I usually read either romances that are set directly in the present day, usually Wi-Fi savvy cowboys, or I read Regency romance set during the Regency in England, which for some reason excites the imagination of historical romance writers more than any other period. Probably because it has this aura of a sense of holiday. It's a glittering society ruled not by a king, but by a regent who is a bit of a libertine himself, so that there's a feeling of holiday, maybe. I don't know, one way or another. I wonder if Stephanie Lawrence will exploit the difference feeling in the zeitgeist. I mean, the Victorian era, the early Victorian era, with a virtuous young girl on the throne, was a very different feel. And in between, you've got the lecherous uncles, the horrible lecherous Hanoverian uncles. I'll have to see. Probably it won't be a major part of the romance. So let's see. Let's see what this next one is. Oh, it's another romance. Okay. All right. This is by B.J. Daniels. Why do I know that name? Oh, yes, because we have another B.J. Daniels. Remember, we got Stroke of Luck, about a young man and young woman who are trapped by a blizzard in their ranch, perhaps with skullduggery going on. And that just got to me by B.J. Daniels, but now here's a different book. B.J. Daniels is prolific. So this comes out in May, and this is, again, it's another Sterlings of Montana, and it's The Luck of the Draw. We've got a bit of a glare there because I think it would have been inescapable. Glare would have been inescapable today anyway, because even if I'd, gotten off my behind and made a video earlier today, it would still have been blazing sunlight. So is this also the Sterlings Montana? Yeah, okay. And it's not Sterlings of Montana. It's just Sterlings Montana. This is the next book in that series. What have we got here? Who is B.J. Daniels? Oh, there's our author. That is a very nice smile. A nice outdoorsy picture, too. She lives in Montana with her husband and 3 Springer Spaniels. Springer Spaniels are so nice. Oh, my. All right, so what have we got here? He may get the second chance at his one true love if someone doesn't kill her first. So this is gonna maintain the feeling that we got from the pub sheet of Stroke of Luck, which is that this is romance with a background noise of a thriller-esque danger to it. Something that you probably wouldn't get with The Pursuits of Lord Kavanagh, although there was a dastardly villain mentioned there, so maybe so. When Garrett Sterling leaves for a horseback ride through his family's sprawling Montana property, he's expecting a relaxing break from the construction of the Sterling Guest Ranch. Bean, could you quiet it down? When he gets is something far more sinister. It all happens so fast that it's hard for Garrett and the authorities to sort out the facts. 2 things are certain, though. Someone is dead, and the killer knows there was a witness. Almost doesn't sound like a romance at all. But when the one woman he could never forget emerges as a key witness in the investigation, Garrett will do anything he can to help clear her name. So there's the romance element. Okay, fantastic. So that is May. 2 romances. Steve is pleased. So let's move on here. What have we got next? Cardboard for your diet, little man? Just hold on for dear life, why don't you? Oh, Frida, you have stuff hanging off your face. A sticker. Were you able to spot that? A sticker has adhered itself to her whiskers, to her beard. See? All right. Let's see here. Okay. All right. I don't recognize this. This comes out in March. It's by Gina Marie Guadagnino? It comes out in early March. It's a review copy, not for resale. Will a brother and sister's steadfast vow withstand their wild devotion to the same woman? What an opening question. This is the author's debut. Odd title for a debut. A tempestuous 19th century love triangle threatens all that one secretive servant holds dear. Posing as the lady's maid in 1837 New York City, Marie O'Farron must tread carefully. The upper echelons of society despise the Irish. Still true today. And Marie, known to her employers only as Mary Ballard, takes great care to conceal her native lilt and lineage. Nor would the household be pleased with a servant who aids her debutante's midnight assignations with a stable groom. These Frida. I knew that was coming. Least of all would they tolerate a maid who takes a stronger liking for her charge than would be deemed seemingly suitable for her sex. So this is a love triangle in which all the sides of the triangle are equal. Interesting. Oh, fantastic. All right, so this is a historical novel and a debut. Great. Okay. I myself would have given it a different title than Review Copy Not for Resale, but I'm assuming that is the book's title because it is by far the most prominent thing on the cover. So, maybe the author had second thoughts. Let's move on here. That's another debut. You ready for this, Bean? What is that? What we got here? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. This is by Anton van der Lem, and it is Revolt in the Netherlands, the 80 Years' War. No information at all. Wow, no information. Literally no information at all. The sheet that comes with it merely gives me the information that's on the front of the book. It doesn't even give a date. Is there any other date? No, there's not. Okay, well, we'll read from the book. Let's see. Beginning in 1566, the 17 provinces of the Netherlands rebelled against the absolute rule of the King of Spain. A confederation of duchies, counties, and lordships, they demanded the right of self-determination, the freedom of conscience and religion, and the right to be represented in government. Their long struggle to regain their liberty and the subsequent rise of the Dutch Republic was a decisive episode in world history and an important step in the path to universal declaration of human rights. It's also an aspect of Western history that nobody knows. Nobody knows anything about it. Unless you, for some reason, love Dutch history, you aren't going to know anything about this. In this compelling retelling of the Dutch Revolt, I can't remember the last time I read a popular book on this subject. I might have missed some, but this will be brand new ground to a lot of people. I wonder if it'll get any coverage at all. That would be so nice if it did. The author explores the main issues at stake on both sides of the struggle and examines why it took 80 years for the peace to be achieved. He recounts in vivid detail the roles of the key protagonists, the decisive battles, and the war's major turning points. Wonderful. So it is a soup to nuts one-volume history of the 80 Years' War. Oh, okay. All right. All right, well, the rest of this mail haul now has a high bar to clear. We'll see if any of them can do it. Oh, somebody asked me to show a picture of the destruction that you reach. I will have to do that. This one was, it's a mass market, but it was in one of those vacuum compressed envelopes, which forced me to destroy part of the paperwork in order to get at it. But it's another romance. So we've got 3 romances so far. This is contemporary. It's a Heart of Texas novel by Donna Grant called My Favorite Cowboy. Judging by that cover, he's up high on my list as well. This comes out right away. This comes out at the end of February. And this is, let's see here, a hard-working veterinarian and rough-and-tumble cowboy work together to solve a peculiar crime involving horses, but their desire towards each other is another mystery entirely. So once again, not just puppies and daffodils. Once again, we have a romance that is threaded through with a crime. Interesting. That's been all 3, to one extent or another, and certainly the 2 modern westerns. Audrey Martinez is a veterinarian who has devoted her whole life to the care and protection of horses, even if doing so leaves her little time for meeting and we don't know what the rest of it is, because I had to destroy it to get the book out to get the book. That's a shame. We'll move on to the next paragraph. Cable. See, I had to destroy it in order to get it out of the package. Caleb Harper is no ordinary cowboy. I don't know how out of the ordinary he will be. He will have 5% body fat or less. He will be an expert shot with a handgun. He will never in his entire life have read a book. Sure, he wears his hats, boots, and jeans like a second skin and displays an easygoing charm that comes from years of working on a ranch. But with his military background and army buddies at his side, he is tried and true Texas tough. Audrey knows she can trust a man like Caleb to help her save her horses. But can Caleb trust himself to resist his attraction to Audrey? Why would we want him to do that? Let's hope he can't trust himself. Where would the novel be if he did? Well, I mean, what would that mean? We get to page 200, and he says, I'm sure glad my self-control is holding up. Please. All right, so let's move on here. We are inching closer to the box. This mail haul is so big, it is exhausting, my little bean. Oh, no. Okay. All right. Okay. This is a tough one. This is really tough. I had the advanced copy of this. I have made the mental decision probably a dozen times that this would be the time I would read it, that I would finally sit down and read it, and each time I couldn't bear it. And finally, I made the mental decision to just say, well, you know, you don't have to jump the gun. You can just wait until you get the finished copy and read that. And now I have a finished copy, so I don't have a choice. I don't have anywhere to go with this book. I just have to read it. This is Victor Davis Hanson, The Case for Trump. And you might think, you know, if you don't know the author, you might think, well, we've seen you get lots of Trump books in the mail. You dive right into them. You might not like it, but you don't hold off. What would make this one any different? And what makes this one different is that Victor Davis Hanson is a legitimate historian. He's a legitimately great historian. He's not a Trump party hack. He's not a political hack of any kind. He's not looking for a job in the Trump White House that I know of. Instead, this is, in a way, going to be more infuriating because it's going to attempt not only to normalize the presidency of Donald Trump, which is an intellectual crime of the first water, but also lionize. And I have no choice now. If this comes out on the first week of March, I have to read it. So let's hear about it. If I have to read it, you at least have to hear about it. Let's see. On June 16th, 2015, voters met 69-year-old flamboyant billionaire and now Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump at his eponymous Manhattan high-rise. They didn't meet someone who was flamboyant. They met someone who was racist. They met someone who came down an escalator like the tackiest person in the world and said that Mexicans were rapists. The self-proclaimed outsider offered, and he was only a self-proclaimed outsider during the election. That's all. For the 50 years before that, he was a self-proclaimed Democrat. Offered no apologies for promising to be the first successful presidential candidate to have no prior political experience. Entering the race ready for the beginning of a never-ending war with the press and civil strife within his party. He started the war with the press, and he started the civil strife within his party. So he was ready for those things just as well, since they were his agenda. They didn't exist before him. He postured like Caesar, easily crossing the forbidden Rubicon and forcing an end to the old politics as usual. Yeah, how'd that work out for you if you went a month without a paycheck? At Christmas. When you went without pay at Christmas, were you maybe thinking you could have taken a little bit of politics as usual back again? Mm-hmm. Going to enjoy having no paycheck for February and March? Politics as usual tends not to have that happen. What followed was the strangest presidential candidate's announcement speech in memory. Well, yes. Yes. Trump's stream of consciousness talk went on and off, and back on script. Reporters were stunned, but also mesmerized by his lowbrow, sometimes crude tone and its content. Politicos immediately dubbed Trump's rants political suicide. and then he wins. And so we're going to talk about the book. Here, Victor Davis Hanson attempts something different, an effort to understand Trump on his own terms and to answer a series of questions by drawing on wider historical and literary precursors and contexts. I don't doubt that every major historian, American historian, is going to write about this guy and his presidency. I don't doubt that. But they're not going to make a partisan case. It's long, long since gone beyond that. Unless you are a cult member, this is long, long since gone beyond. There are pluses and minuses. So some of the bullet questions. Why were expert pollsters and pundits so wrong in their predictions of a failed Trump presidential nomination, a loss at the ballot box, and in the first months, a failed presidency? Okay, well, gerrymandering and voter suppression. And keep in mind, the first 6 months of the Trump presidency were failed. This presidency has been largely a failure, or an ethical, moral, and economic embarrassment. When it hasn't been failing, it has been actively embarrassing. Is Trump a classic populist, a dangerous demagogue, or a barking P.T. Bonham, hawking the zeitgeist of the moment? Oh, God, this is going to be unbearable. Because Victor knows better than this. He knows better than all of this. He knows that this book had not been written, and he knows that if he writes it, it will get more attention than if some, temporarily unindicted Trump creature writes it. But he knows better than this. He knows perfectly well the things that this man is attacking, and he values them. I don't know what to say. Those of you who, I'm sure there are plenty of you watching that disagree with me politically. That's okay. That's just fine. I don't mean to go off on a political rant. But I think they're probably, if the demographics on this channel break down like the demographics in the country and the world, then far, far more of you agree with me that there's more to whether or not a president is successful than whether or not the stock market is temporarily on a run. And those of you who do agree and are looking at this book, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not telling you to read the book. I will do that for you. And who knows? I might see some points that I didn't think of before. But I don't know what to tell you about the author. Don't hold it against him. Don't hold this book against him. Unless the next book is the same thing, don't do it. Instead, don't think, oh, I saw that book on Steve's channel, and I am in the bookstore now, and I see that he wrote a World War II book or something like that. Don't hold this book against him for those books. His books are brilliant. I'll just have to see what this one is. I can't put it off any longer. So, oh God, though, what a gut punch. Okay, all right, now we're on to the boxes. Let's go on to the boxes and see if we can't pull this out of a Trump tailspin. What is this first one? Bean, haven't you had enough? Good Lord. Oh. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Look at the floor. It's Guy Bean. It's covered in garbage. Oh, great. Oh, I know. All right, well, if this is this one, then I know what one of these others will be. There's a 1-2 punch of a book coming out right away, I think in early March, that is utterly fascinating. I read them. I love them. This is one of them. This is by Henry Spellman. And it's he was a little boy. It's a boy's life of it's called Relation of Virginia. Tiny little thing. First book publication it's had in 100 years or more. Yes, okay, a memoir of one of America's first adventurers, a young boy who acted as a link between the Jamestown colonists and the Powhatans. Having here unloaded our goods and bestowed some... what have we got here? Yes, okay. Relation of Virginia by Henry Spellman, edited with an introduction by Karen Kupperman. Spellman was a teenage boy from the Jamestown colony who would go on to live in two very different worlds, serving as an intermediary between the English and Native American tribes of the Powhatans. While most journals from the early colonial period are filled by English adults and colored by distrust and fear of Native Americans, Henry, who was an adolescent at the time of his writing, was able to provide one of the few unvarnished insider accounts of Indian life. And I don't think I've ever read this whole thing. I've certainly never held it in my hand as a book. And it comes out in mid-March along with a new book on Pocahontas. A new book called Pocahontas and the English Boys, I think it's called. It'll probably be one of these other books. I find it hard to believe that I would get this without that, because they're being packaged as a deal, as a pair, ready-made. It's wonderful to have this, though. I can't help but think that the Pocahontas book will be one of these remaining boxes. So we'll do this next one here. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. This is the other book, Pocahontas and the English Boys, also by Kavanagh. And this is a new approach. In January 1608, in an effort to impress Powhatan, the ruler of the local Native American tribe, Captain Christopher Newport of the Jamestown colony bestowed upon the chief a gift of what he claimed was extreme value, his own son. Newport's son was in fact a teenager named Thomas Savage and was listed on ship's records as being a laborer. But given his lowly status, he was in no position to argue with his new lot in life. He was traded to the Powhatans. Why exactly would Newport, an Englishman and new settler in a foreign land of the Americas, willingly give this child to the Powhatans? Was this the kind of gift out of the ordinary, or was it considered to be quite normal by those two peoples? What message did Newport hope to convey, and what gains did he hope to make with this gesture? And this is that story as it interconnects with Pocahontas, and it looks to me, I haven't even dipped my toe into this, but it looks tremendously energetic and innovative. So it makes up for a lot. These two go together. See, they go together. They're even sort of packaged together. So that's great to have finished copies of those. Now let's move on here to this next one. Oh, Dean, I think you've had quite enough, haven't you? This is an enormous mail haul. You've eaten the whole thing. Oh, goodness. Where are my scissors when I need them? These last two boxes are fairly big. Don't know what that could be. This first one isn't coming quietly. So the next one is the last thing, so this will be a huge mail haul. That's just a box, Bean. You don't want that. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. All right, this is from Tor. No wonder. It's a big book. This is his... the Imager portfolio. This is Endgames, the latest book in his Imager portfolio. This is the final volume in the Imager series. Great. I have enjoyed the Imager series. This author is not one of my favorites. I don't think he ever really does it for me, but I've enjoyed this series quite a bit. I'm sorry to say that this book will make no sense to you whatsoever, unless you've read the others in the series. But I have, so that's fantastic. Great. Okay, so is this soon? This is in the rearview mirror. This came out in the first week of February, so it's a little late getting to me, but that's all right. And then we have our last thing for what is looking like it's going to be my longest video ever. Sorry about that. That's what I get when I take a day off. What have we got here? Okay, we end with more science fiction. Angry Robot. This is The Outlaw and the Upstart King by Rod Duncan. Quite the eye-catching cover. Tattoos are the only law on the island of the free, and there can never be a king. Every clan agrees on that. But a returning exile has smothered something across the water that could send the old ways up in flames. Tattoo removal, for instance, which will be the biggest and most popular industry in America in the 2040s. Elias wants revenge on the man who severed his oaths and made him an outlaw. But if his wealth and honor are truly to be restored, he'll need to help from the most unlikely quarter. A mysterious woman landed unwontedly in the Newfoundland's rocky shore. Okay. Have you heard any of that? I don't know if you did or not, because the baby's going crazy. This next one is by Wesley Chu. It is The Fall of Io. This is by the author of The Time Salvager, which I believe I read and reviewed, and I think I was not kind to The Time Salvager. Earth is in the aftermath of a civil war between two alien factions. When Ella Patel's mind was invaded by the quasling alien Io, she was dragged into the conflict between the Profus and the Genjiks, Despite her reservations and Io's incompetence, the Provosts were determined to train her as an agent. It didn't go well. Expelled after just 2 years, Ella happily returned to con artistry and a little bank robbery on the side. But the Quasing War isn't done with them yet. Okay, so these are both Angry Robot books, and they, I think, both probably come out in February. Do you have a date on this? Oh, no. No, they both come out in January. All right. Also late getting to them. Okay, well, there we go. That was a mail haul. So we have Ellie Motiset, Endgames. We have Pocahontas and the English Boys, and also the little memoir. We have The Case for Trump by Victor Davis Hanson. We have Revolt in the Netherlands, a new history of the 80 Years' War. We have a review copy not for resale, the debut by Gina Marie Guadagnino. We have The Wolf and the Watchman by Nicholas Night and Day. What else we got here? The Scholar, a novel set in the dark recesses of contemporary Ireland. The Fall of Io, and The Outlaw and the Upstart King, two new science fiction novels by Angry Robot. Hawk Parable by Tyler Mills. Collection of narrative poetry. A little bit of a strange thing there. Why Don't You Write My Eulogy Now So I Can Correct It? With illustrations by the great Roz Chast. Relation to Virginia by Henry Spellman, who was traded to the natives. And 3 romances. My Favorite Cowboy. We've got another cowboy novel by B.J. Daniels. And a historical novel that is not a Regency romance. It's a Victorian romance. So there you go. That is the mail haul that accumulated here all day while I did nothing but read. Now I have to clean up enormously. I will wrap this up. This has gone way too long. But I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.